Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Father Cory Sticha. Hi, Father.
Howdy.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Why are you attacking me?
I'm sorry, it's just too easy.
I forgive you. Hi, Jack.
Could be one of those shows.
Today we are discussing the 19th episode of Season 5, Menace. In this episode, SG1 discovers an abandoned world and a seemingly human-like android, Reese. They bring her back to Earth, where she learns that she is an android and that her world was destroyed by the Replicators, which she created. Reese is upset and confused, and she begins to create her own army of replicators, trying to impress Daniel Jackson. SG1 must race against time to stop Reese before she unleashes the replicators on the Earth. My main takeaway from this episode was that now we can actually refer to the replicators as Reese's Pieces.
Very good.
What were your thoughts on this episode, Father?
Well, Stargate data is a lot more attractive and a lot more murdery. Because this, I mean, some of this is basically like, was it Measure of a Man, the episode where Data basically goes on trial for, is he a sentient life or is he basically a toaster? Jimmy Akin's opinion, he's basically a toaster. But this is there's very similar themes are taught. Of course, Daniel Jackson is the one that, she's, self-aware and, maybe she's just like, they took the mind print of one person and loaded on her and all that kind of stuff. So it's very similar paths trod by obvious other sci-fis. Of course, you get more, a little more action where we do find out where the replicators came from. That came from that planet. It was her that really gave them the programming. So it's not a bad episode. It's one I like. It's not one of these that I'm going to seek out and watch on a regular basis. It's not one of my regular watch, but it's one I like. It's one I enjoy watching when it does come up.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Lisa?
I like that they gave the Replicator such an interesting origin story. It could have been something really boring, but the way that they did this, I really like it. And I find Reese extremely irritating and frustrating and confusing. And so I think that means good. I think that's good. Yeah. She wasn't boring by any stretch. And I think you feel the whole episode, like you feel for Daniel at times, you feel for Jack, and you're really confused by Reese. And, it's enjoyable. And I'd forgotten so much of it. And so, especially the end. So I was, I won't say pleasantly surprised. That sounds strange, but it was a nice kind of twist on the ending. Because it's another episode where it's, Daniel's morality and, we have to talk to them and be the diplomat versus Jack's, military mindset of protection and defense.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Victor?
Yeah, I'm really on the fence about this episode, Attack of the Manipulative Robot Girlfriend. No, it's very good performance by Danielle Nicolay as Reese. Mm-hmm. However, there are two things I really don't like about this episode. And that is, it's never clear. They never make it clear. And it seems like it's only for dramatic effect and stringing along the audience that first, Reese is like, has the mind of a child. Then she's somewhat more, savvy than that. And was she manipulating them all along? And she knew she was an android and created the replicators. And they never really make that clear. It's like they have this progression in her mannerisms just for the sake of stringing the audience and I guess SG1 along. And the other thing I don't like is that we get an origin story for the replicators. I think the replicators are a lot more effective if we don't know where they came from, if they're just this kind of force of nature. And I think this origin story is dumb, in my opinion.
Evil connects.
Yeah, I mean, it's as good as anything, but again, anything would have been stupid. But, there's a lot of things you don't need to explain. And the origin of the replicators, they're far more effective as a villain if you don't know, especially where they take the replicators, after this point into like season 8 and 9, I think. It just makes it all the more kind of stupid in my opinion. But really good guest star performance, but just a couple of missteps along the way. But good performance.
Yeah. I really liked this episode. I like that they don't make it clear, really, is she just a robot or is she a sentient being? Like, they don't try to answer that question.
Mhm.
They just ask the question and then let it play out. The thing I found kind of weird about it was that, so she looks like she's probably like in her mid 20s, but she
Mhm.
acts like she's 10.
Mhm.
At
And
first.
so there's, yeah, but even later on, like, I don't really feel like she acts like an adult. She just becomes more conniving. And the way I kind of took that was that she's probably super intelligent because she's an android, but she does not have any emotional intelligence because she's not really lived around people. So that's,
Or she's just very manipulative.
yeah.
Because at the end, she's literally using the replicators to tap into the base computers and everything. She's very much acting as an adult, or you would a fully formed android you would think.
Yeah.
Even her language changes at that point.
And they had to mature her up a little bit, otherwise it would have been Jack shooting a child,
Oh.
which for Jack or someone with the emotional maturity of a child at the end. So yeah.
And I will say, you talked about the guest star's performance, which was great, but it was really creepy where you see this very much adult woman speaking and sounding like a 10-year-old. I mean, that was that for some of that was a very creepy and kind of a disturbing aspect of the character at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. She kind of kept you off balance the whole episode. You weren't really sure what was going on, and I don't know for sure, but I would think that was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And the actress did a fabulous job at it because I was really confused. And I guess that's my what's why I haven't watched this episode a bunch of times is because I'm just not sure. Like, and then you've got the whole Jack versus Daniel argument. And if she is conniving and evil and manipulative and just putting on as a child and low emotional IQ and all that, then you're like, well, then Jack was definitely right.
Yeah.
He totally was.
Yeah.
At every step, including through the end, Jack was completely right.
But that makes Daniel kind of look like a fool.
Well, he likes evil women who manipulate him. I mean, that's true. He's easily manipulated by women. He's codependent.
I found Daniel more annoying than she was. Let's just put it that way in this one.
Oh, really?
Just because every step of the way, it's like, oh, well, she's just a child. She doesn't understand. Okay, she makes these murder blocks, but she's just a child, so she doesn't understand what she's doing. She can stop the murder blocks anytime she wants, but instead they're making more, and they're coming after us now. But she's just a child, so she doesn't, it's like...
Yeah.
That's very Daniel, though, isn't it?
It is.
That is in his character.
Well,
even at the very end where, he's calling him, calls Jack USOB.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, this how it was supposed to go. It was going to go down, right? This is what was going to happen. And at the end, Daniel's like, yes.
Because even after Jack shoots her, Daniel was saying she was in the process of shutting them off. And it's like, they didn't turn off until he shot her. So,
yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess, I don't know. It's complicated. I understand where Daniel's coming from. Like my natural pacifist tendencies tend to kick in there, but it's
You want it to be good. You want the peaceful resolution, right?
Yeah.
Him to get through to her and all of that, and
there's so many too. It's like, okay, so you can't reach the Asgard, but you do know an expert in humanoid robotics. Where's Harlan? Call him up.
Yeah,
that's true.
And then at the end, they've deactivated Reese, and even if Daniel's right and she was shutting herself down, then take her power cell out, then call the Asgard, have the Asgard examine her, and then they can reverse engineer, power her back up in a controlled whatever they need to do. I mean, it's not that we never come back to this.
Oh no, that's not true.
Oh, we don't.
Oh no, the Asgard do use her.
Oh, they do? Oh, excellent. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I take that back. Maybe I'll edit that out. Yeah. No, great. Yeah. Okay, excellent. I was forgetting something.
They do use her later to call the replicators.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I can assume that since she's an android, a shot to the stomach wouldn't necessarily completely destroy her.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
might just need a new
In
power
theory.
supply. Yeah. That also throws into question, though, because she's so conniving and so manipulative, and her story is basically, and I think she keeps it pretty much the same throughout, is that she made the replicators and they started killing people and she didn't know what to do.
Mhm.
But because of the way she acts, like, it's possible that she just did that on purpose and wiped them out and let them
Mhm.
free.
But then she also says, I taught them how to replicate. I taught them how to defend themselves.
Mhm.
And I taught them to defend me.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
that also says they didn't just start killing people. She felt threatened because everyone
Right.
kept calling her bad, right? And then I think she was responsible.
Yeah, this is
Mhm.
an update on that old Twilight Zone episode where the kid Bill Mooney wishes everybody into the cornfield.
Oh, yeah.
If they defy his wishes, he does something horrible to them, and I think that's probably what this was too. I mean, when I had like my Leonardo DiCaprio like holding the beer and like pointing at the TV moment when when Daniel says, "No, you're a robot," and she like throws him through a bookcase, and then he comes back in and he's like, "Oh, I forgive you," and she's like, "Oh, I forgive you too," and he's like, "For what?" And she's like,
Mhm.
"For attacking me." And I was like, words are violence. Words are violence.
Yeah, there you
Snowflake.
go.
Yeah. No, and it's like literally the mindset of people like nowadays who would be, Reese's age nowadays, not to be the old, the old man yelling at clouds here, but there are people out there who are like, oh yeah, you attacked me. And that's why I inflicted physical violence upon you. And it's like, oh, really? I attacked you? Well, you told me the truth about myself.
Well, it's every time someone would say something she didn't like, it's mainly,
Mhm.
you hate me. And I mean, again,
Yeah.
that's where she was kind of the 10-year-old. I mean,
Yeah.
admittedly, she was kind of acting like the 10-year-old.
There are
But immediately
adults.
she saw herself as, being attacked
Yeah.
when it was really, no, we need your help to stop this problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Daniel just took it hook, line, and sinker.
Yep.
Not always looking for the good in people. I think ever since second or third season he has.
Yeah, in the beginning he was a bit, let's cut their brains open and see what happens. But
Yeah.
And that was Sam in this one. Hey, let's tear her apart and see what makes her tick.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting dynamic at the beginning because she's like, well, let's just tell a robot. She doesn't have any feelings. What does it matter? And Daniel's over there like, we have to, hold her hand. And it felt very, one side or the other, a little, I feel like Carter normally would have been a little closer to the center. And then of course Jack over there going, cause it's a machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that was right on.
Machines don't have feelings.
But I thought it was which one of them said, after all the different life forms we've run into and blah, 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 wouldn't it be good to be a little careful?
mm-hmm.
I mean, you think about like the water planet,
Daniel.
that those were life forms and they're right. Oh my gosh, y'all keep getting into so much trouble. And now you're just like, it's a machine.
Well, and there's even the argument about, when Jack kept arguing that, it's like, we were turned into machines and we didn't even realize it at first.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tin Man, yeah.
or it was you didn't even realize you were a machine at first. Like, that's beside the point.
Yeah.
And that's the question. Like, can a machine ever be considered a life form? And I know Jimmy is very hardline that Data is a toaster, and I disagree with him on that point because I think that we don't know enough about where technology can go to really answer that. And I also think from a dramatic point of view, you can use robots and machines as actual living beings in stories. But I like that they, like you were saying, Lisa, how off balance it is. And it's very manipulative, not only to Daniel, but also to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did a good job with that because you're really seeing it from Daniel's point of view, I feel like, for the most part. And so you almost get like an unreliable narrator kind of feel from that because he's so convinced that there's some way that he can reason with her.
Right. Very
And
Pollyanna.
Mhm.
Yeah, one thing I kind of, like with you, Lisa, is I forgot how this ended.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we had seen her as a character, not just, as a tool with the Asgard, but had seen her as a character again.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's not the case. But
Right.
so yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise for me as well. But again, you're left uncertain who's going to win this. Is Jack going to win? Is Daniel going to win? Is she going to get away? What's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
They've kept it. They kept it really close to the vest till the very end.
Mm-hmm. And I did read an interview with Joseph Mallozzi, and he back in 2002, and he said that her portrayal, the actress, did such a fabulous job that they wanted to bring her back,
Mm-hmm.
but it just didn't. It didn't work out. But they wanted to.
Amazon's working on a new show, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
there you go.
If they can get her away from Flash and Supergirl, and I guess Flash is ending at some point. So
Yeah.
Flash is still on.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, yeah, I stopped watching after like season, but it's on
That's
CW.
funny.
If Supernatural can go 15 seasons, I mean, there's no reason Flash can't.
Fair enough.
I know the Arrow's not on, but anymore.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, it's I'm actually okay with the origin story for the replicators being something so not really
Stupid.
mundane, but
Mundane.
because it's kind of like, it's basically a gray goose scenario, which is the theory that it's basically replicators. You create machines that just create more machines, and you get overwhelmed, and they end up destroying all biological life. But I like that it kind of is. So the scientist on this planet creates this robot, and then the unintended consequences of creating technology and how it can get out of hand. So I kind of like that origin for the replicators.
Yeah, I can see that. I still think they're better.
He's not conceding the point, but
if they don't. Yeah, I think it's probably, you're right, probably the best possible origin story for the replicators if they have to have one. But from a dramatic standpoint, I think they're more effective if they don't.
I thought it was creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's creative, so it's not what you expected for them. So I was like, oh, that's
I think if you're gonna explain them, do it something interesting, because I feel like the go-to thing would be like this was a weapon that was created, or it was like an industrial machine, and then
this was Skynet or something like that.
Yeah, but something, it's an angry and mature android created toys that murder people.
Yeah. Well, we do call them, murder Legos, or we should call them murder Legos, and that kind of fits then.
I love this scene where she holds out her arm.
Yeah, that was good.
The first time you see it, right?
Yeah.
That
It
was
won't
really
hurt
creepy.
you. It's a toy.
The toy that spits venom and breaks through glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also really like the deactivation effects they use when the replicators get shut down. They just like break into pieces.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that
just
is kind
looks
of cool.
And then Jack's like, sweep them all up.
Yeah, every bit of them.
Yeah. Melt them down.
And I did like it where the replicator was in the glass case. And when she would get upset, it would, like
Yeah.
get up
Rear
and
up.
look angry, and then it would calm down. And so that was kind of nice. They weren't in the same room necessarily. I think it was in the observation room or whatever. But I liked that they showed that.
Yeah.
Well-
And it's because they were still tied to her,
Mm-hmm.
wirelessly. They weren't thinking autonomously at that point.
Yeah. Well, even when Sam and General Hammond were there at the big nuke to blow the base up, there's the one that it was sitting there at the door, the hole in the door, and it wasn't sure what to do, whether to keep going or stop, and that was because of her uncertainty at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then it kind of breaks out of her control, and they have to shoot it anyways.
Yeah.
But it was still just that fact that it was kind of twitching back and forth. It wasn't just kind of stopped. It was not sure what to do.
And we get to see General Hammond.
Yeah. Action Hammond.
Yeah,
Yep.
Action Hammond.
Yeah. Yeah, I did appreciate that. Whenever we get to see him with his little black T-shirt on and his replicator, Ray-Bans, so they don't get the replicator bits in their eyes and stuff.
Well, it's funny because he took the time to change from the blues, the blue T-shirt, blue short sleeve shirt and blue pants, to the BDU pants and the black top.
He wears
And then
it
got
under
out of the
his
shotgun.
clothes like
Yeah.
Superman.
It's like
He
Superman.
does the Superman
yeah.
thing and just
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan, yeah.
And this was Don S. Davis's, I think it was his 100th episode.
Oh, cool.
So maybe
Nice.
that was a little since it's his 100th episode, he gets to, show off.
Gets to have a little bit of action.
Yeah, shoot things.
He's pretty good with that shotgun too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be the best way to take care of something like that. Get a wide spread and just aim at him.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of shotgun, I want Jax with the mega clip
with the drum magazine on it.
Yeah, drum magazine.
I wonder if an EMP would deactivate replicators. Is that something they ever use?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I don't think
that's
so.
That's a good question.
And I really liked Michael Shanks' acting at the end after Jack shoots her. Like, he did a good job with that. Like, you feel for him even though you knew that he was kind of taken in and became just a tool for her to manipulate. And also seeing him be that angry at Jack. I don't know if we've ever seen that kind of anger between the team before.
I can't remember him cursing at Jack like that before.
I'm sure it's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, it was one of those where he knew that Jack was right in the long run. He knew that this is what had happened, but he still didn't want to admit it until Jack's like, you realize this was how it was going to go. It was always going to go this way. And Daniel just kind of, just kind of puts his head down a little bit and says yes. And that was the end of the episode.
And he ran out of time.
Yep.
Yeah. He did everything he could and nope.
Yep.
I need to question the SGC's lockdown procedures for advanced androids that seem like children but are probably also murder weapons. Like, they didn't do a great job locking her down. They put her in a room with all sorts of stuff, including scissors, which if you're keeping somebody under lock and key, not only for like everyone else's safety, but for their own safety, you don't leave scissors in the room.
They were the child scissors. They're best you could do is give someone a nasty paper cut with those. No, I'm kidding.
I've been in a psych ward. They don't let you have child scissors.
I know that.
Think about how much metal she had access to.
Yeah.
Well, then they pull it all out, and she still figures it out.
Yep.
Because they had like the camera and stuff like that.
Yeah, the camera's in there. Yes.
And I like that part where the guards are watching the camera, and she looks at it. And then it goes off, and he's just like, I'm just going to open the door with my keys. La-di-da-di. I was like, what do you think is going to happen, dude?
Yeah.
Random senior airman gets attacked,
Right.
And and I think they, we've seen replicators like basically kill people before, and obviously they killed everybody on her planet. I think they avoided killing any of the airmen in this just to make it, just so there was still some drama there, and it's not like, okay, well, she's murdered people, and now we need to,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's out of character for her and the replicators to, leave them alive. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the way I kind of took that is she was trying to make these replicators so that they weren't as murdery. They're still murdery, just not as murdery. And,
just
trying
cranky
to
replicators.
Yeah, they're just overly cranky.
Murdery. I like that.
But again, it didn't work. I mean, no one got killed in this except her, but it was still she was trying to learn from it. Let's put it that way.
She's a robot. She didn't get killed. She had what does SpaceX call it? A rapid unscheduled deconstruction.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
That's good.
It done blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there's one character again we haven't talked about. Tilk.
Was he in this episode?
He was.
I know.
He shot the
He
first.
stood there with the shotgun and shot the one.
Yeah.
He went off base or off world to the same world twice, and that was about it.
He held a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Didn't use it.
Hammond scenes, probably as much as I appreciate Action Hammond, that probably should have been Teal'c.
I did read why he wasn't in the episode.
Oh, really?
The day that they filmed the initial landing on her planet was 9/11, 2001.
Oh, okay.
And Christopher Judge had family in New York.
Oh.
And I read that he, like that, especially in the beginning scenes on that day, he asked not to be filmed because he was so emotional.
Yeah.
And
Sure, that's
so
understandable, yeah.
I would guesstimate that's why he was not in a lot of the episode.
Sure.
Because, I mean, we all remember what that, well.
Oh, yeah.
Very lots of chaos and unknown. So
I'm surprised that anyone was able to film that day then, to be honest.
Yeah, right?
well,
Yeah, I mean, you have this strong show must go on kind of ethos, I guess, you know.
Well,
That's
especially
true, yeah.
since if that was the first day they were filming was on the planet, well, that was out of studio for some of that.
Well, yeah, they
they
don't
probably
film
had
in
to.
sequence though, so you never know what
Yeah.
the first thing on the call sheet
Right,
would have been. Yeah.
true.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, is if they were
Yeah.
filming off planet, it would have been, they would only have so much time to film that part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're in a window. They have to get it done.
That's
Yeah.
true, yeah.
Yeah. So I did read that. So I'll forgive them for not having a lot of Teal'c in this episode.
That may have
Yeah,
been why
it's
they
totally
had to
understandable.
put Hammond in as the action hero in this too.
True.
Perhaps. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did y'all
Possibly.
see who wrote this episode or got credit for writing it?
Yeah, it was Peter
Dave-
DeLuise.
Well, James
No,
James
Tishner.
Tishner.
Oh, yeah.
So he's what the special effects?
Special
Oh,
effects,
okay.
yeah, and he's on Atlantis too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they said this is his first of a couple of episodes that he was responsible for. I thought that was kind of cool though, that his episode was Replicators, which he's special effects. So that's what he,
Yeah.
he's
So-
responsible for making them look good. So
So he goes to Brad Wright and goes, what the show needs is more replicators. I want to do more replicators, so I'll write the story with more replicators.
Yeah.
I've got a fever. No,
And Peter DeLuise is like, I'll make it work somehow.
yeah.
yeah. And I think the director was Martin Wood though, right?
Yeah. Peter
Yeah.
DeLuise
Mhm.
wrote the teleplay right after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even so, there are words that as a writer you don't want to put in the mouths of your characters. One of them is "this is boring,"
Yeah.
and then the other one is "none of this makes any sense." Both of which we hear in this episode. You don't want to remind your audience that something is boring and doesn't make any sense.
You know what? This episode has that great scene of where he's saying that Daniel is saying that she's like a child and can't focus and blah, blah, blah. And you've got Jack with the magnifying glass on his mouth. And that is,
Eight-year-old loved
that's a gif. I mean, you see that everywhere. So I laughed when I saw that.
And
in this
that
episode.
had to be a improv by
ad-lib,
Richard
yeah.
Dean Anderson, where it was
This
just
isn't-
sitting there and he knew this line was coming up, so he just picked it up and held it in front of his mouth.
Isn't there another time he plays with a magnifying glass like before this or
I
something?
think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like that though.
Well,
Maybe.
of course, the funny part is with the boring, it's like, how many times does the audience think that when Daniel starts going off on something and everybody's going like, boring? So kind of interesting that he was told that in the script.
Mhm.
And then at one point, when Sam and Jack are observing Daniel talking to her, which for some reason they didn't do behind like a camera or a two-way mirror, which
Mhm.
to me she's totally not going to
That's
talk.
true.
Yeah.
Jack says something like, "I'm starting to identify with her."
That's
Getting
right.
fed up with Daniel.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. Oh, and we saw Janet Fraser at the very beginning of this episode to
Mhm.
take a look at the android, and then never again.
She accidentally ejected her CD drive out of her neck. And that was the
Yeah.
last we
Yeah.
saw of
And
her.
that was
Yeah.
it. I thought that was just. I mean, you bring her in; she's a great actress. Like,
Well, she got her their one time on screen and said a word, so then she can get paid
Yeah.
oh, there we
for
go.
that episode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, given when this episode was being produced, I mean, I think there's probably a lot of, I don't know, probably people stepping out, who may have
Mhm.
been.
Mhm.
Yeah.
hmm And they did mention
Sure.
that the guest actress, I forget her name, she couldn't leave because all flights were grounded.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, for several days. So yeah, that was part of. Oh, let's
Let's just get this done then, since
well, let's try to figure out something else for her to do. She's here. Maybe
Yeah.
we can get her in another episode. But yeah, it's just funny that when you think about what was happening at that time period, it seems
Mhm.
I don't know. It's lots of memories.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like the backstory behind the episode is almost more interesting than the episode itself.
Yeah.
I did. My 16-year-old, she asked me today, she's like, so what episode are you doing tonight? And I told her, and she's like, oh, I love that one.
Mhm.
And I said, why? And she said, it's a Daniel episode. I was like, all right. I was like, well, enjoy him now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. That was her whole reason for loving this episode.
It's just because it's heavy on Daniel.
It's a heavy Daniel episode. Yep. So she's not going to be happy with what all we just said.
His heart's in the right place. He just shouldn't
is.
be making tactical decisions.
Yeah, that affect the lives of everyone on the planet. Yeah.
Well, we know he's the morals of the team. He's the conscience of the team. You know, we were told that many seasons ago.
Maybe they
That's
were
right.
predicting that rather than observing.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's like one of those things where you tell somebody that they're great to hopefully like make them great or something. Like, I don't know.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah. Or like, Daniel, you always make good moral choices. He's like, oh, maybe I should start making good moral choices or something.
Yeah.
I almost feel like this would have been more interesting if Carter had been the one advocating for her.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe you could do like the thing with like the maternal instincts that she had with what's her name?
Cassie.
Cassie, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. I don't know.
Well, I was a little disappointed with Carter's role in this because being the scientist,
Yeah.
you know, just I think it would have been really interesting for her to be more involved with all of how cool the technology is. I mean, you think about it from an Earth human perspective. If you take out like sci-fi shows, like real life, that would be, as a scientist, that'd be really awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And she would really be the one who'd be the most excited because she's the techie scientist and Daniel's the linguist. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Cultures, history. Yeah.
yeah, like he's just got a soft spot for crazy women.
What
Like,
did Victor say? What did you say at the beginning? He's got a soft spot for what?
Well, he's
Crazy,
just
manipulative.
He's just easily manipulated by women.
Daniel's basically saying, I can fix her throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
I can save you.
Yeah, it would have been more interesting too because I mean Carter's been taken over by an AI as well, so she has some
that's
of
true.
that experience.
Oh, there's another life form thing that they should be, should have taught them to be more careful.
Yeah, why did
Entity.
Carter not bring up, I was literally a computer at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Kind of a
since
big
they
thing
brought
to
that up,
overlook.
like, especially since after that episode, they brought it up like in 2 consecutive episodes. Every time she walked into her, like, well, weren't you taken over by an alien computer?
Yeah.
You know, but I did like every time Hammond says robot in this, it was just like a little like delight for me. It's, like, why would someone create a robot with the mind of a child? Or, the robot is unwilling to cooperate. The way he said robot. And then Sam is one of the people who says robot.
Robot.
Yeah. If you notice that, she says that a couple times, but I like the way Hammond says robot in this episode.
I want to be self-conscious about the way I say that.
Just start saying automaton and be really hipster.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Robot.
I guess they kind of try to make it Daniel's lane to be interested in because he's talking about, Greek mythology, how they've had, robots and all that throughout history, but it's still, it would have been more interesting to have Carter be the pinpoint character for this. I don't know.
Yeah. And maybe it would have been like a hunky male robot acting like a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
I don't think it really works if you like gender swap it like that, but
No.
No.
Well, I'm glad she wasn't. It wasn't like it was a child actress.
No.
Yeah, it's
But
still.
they could have gotten one of the Helmsworths or something in there and then had him like
At
pretend
that
to
time,
be
they
10.
would have been
I was about to
child
say they-
actors.
They would have been a child.
Yeah. 15-year-old Chris Hemsworth or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's also what's kind of just vaguely creepy about it is that she spends most of the episode acting like a 10-year-old in the body of a 25-year-old woman. And you can never tell if Daniel is like attracted to her or just genuinely wants to help her.
Have kind of
just
does have kind of a significant gaze at her as she's on the planet, powered off, where he's kind of looking down at her and, kind of checking her out. It's like, was that like creepy checking her out, or was that just looking at see what was going on here?
It's because he thought she was dead and perfectly preserved in a crypt. And he's thinking, oh, cool ancient society to learn more about.
That's what he tells everybody.
That's right.
Yeah. The preferred term is robot attracted person.
Oh, gosh.
He's a rap. Yes. And that sounds like a good time for a rap.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Awesome. Do we have any fun titles for this, or is it just?
I mean, they stuck to Menace, and in German though, the name of this episode was Reese, which would have been meaningful to everybody before they saw the episode, right? I mean, because there's that beloved character Reese, right, that you don't learn about until
this episode.
10 minutes into this episode, yeah.
They should have just called it "The Robot Is Bad."
Yeah.
Yes.
However you say
the
that
robot that makes replicators.
Yeah,
the robot who, what is it? It creates manipulative murdering toys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Das Lego's gone wrong.
Das Murder Kindred.
Awesome. Before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create The Secret to Stargate, including Rocco F., Matthew K., Teresa H., Robert G., and Sean L. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue The Secret to Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. To find previous episodes of Secret to Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. And you can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. And we'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG1, The Sentinel. Until then, Father Cory, thank you for joining me and sharing The Secret to Stargate.
Thank you, Jack.
And Lisa Jones, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack. I don't like most of what you say. Somehow I managed to resist the urge to shove you through a wall.
I'm glad you're able to keep that under wraps.
Thanks.
Once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to The Secret to Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?